Next we have Joe Lobell, is a poet, playwright, performer with multiple appearances at the New Eurekan Cafe and the Knitting Factory and numerous other venues. Now, Joe, Diane and I performed with him for Shakespeare's 450th birthday at Sue Polo's Green Pavilion. Actually, yes, it was at the Green Pavilion. It was a very, and that's how I discovered him. No, it was the Shades of Green. Shades of Green. Shades of Green. Right. Now, Anthony is, Joe performed, he's a jazz musician, conductor, performer. He's performed with Butch Morris on the play Fire, produced by the Medicine Show Theater, where I've also seen him perform. He's also wrote Times Square, a radio poetry play aired on WBAI with jazz composer Joe Gallant. And he's performed at numerous venues with blues musicians, Papa Chubby, and others. And he's collaborated on a poetry blues play called City Opus. I'm very honored that Joe is agreed to perform with us. This is his first time with our series, and let's hear a warm welcome for Joe Lobell. Thank you.
This first poem, Bernard just sort of wanted me to do it, and I usually have it memorized. I mean, I've done it so many times that I do have it memorized. But let me just take a few minutes and eat, and I'm just going to memorize this. I need a line reader. No, okay. It's called Metaphysical Rag. But I might need to come back and refer to it. Yeah. I'll just take it off for this poem. Is that good?
Yeah.
Given that Bernard forgot my name, you owe me one. First thing I says upon arriving is that this play, well, by the way, I was writing a lot of plays. I'll just break into this. But every time I would write a play, it would end up being a poem. So finally, I just wrote my poem into a play, or my play into a poem. I just gave in to the force. First thing I says to myself upon arriving is, this play will never go nowhere. But then I says to myself, self, that is not the point of this play. This is a play that will be a success anyways, due to what it says. So I says, and they're all leaning forward, getting sort of interested by now. So I says, and they're all heated up till they can barely contain themselves, and it goes back and forth between them, like maybe they was Joe Louis against Max Schmeling. And on one side you had the Fuhrer frowning, and on the other side you had FDR cheering as Jesse crossed the 100-yard line, and you know that the Fuhrer ain't about to cheer at that. So I says, breaking the tension, which was a 100-watt bulb by now, that ain't it at all. This is poetry, and that's a different way of saying the same thing. Poetry is a way of doing it without doing it. It's a way of acting it out while no one's looking, but they see it anyhow, which is what we call metaphor. It's a way of making the dream come real to the dreamer while he's pretending that he's asleep. So I says, but no! If it stays in this theater, if it stays in this self-same theater until the end of time, in a funny way, that is exactly the point. And he says, so I says, but no, if it remains in this theater, if it remains, I forgot what I said, yeah. When you gotta remember the poem, plus you gotta remember what you said, it gets really complicated. So I says, but no, if it remains in this theater, if it remains in this self-same theater until the end of time, in a funny way, that is exactly the point. It's a better way of failing. It's a show that never gets produced. It's a love who never comes down the turnpike. It's a blues song that never leaves the dominant chord. It is a God who is a God that you can never arrive at, just like a sky that just gets higher and it goes back there and forth between them until it seemed like no one was listening no more. Which I think is actually true. So I says, it's like the play was preparing to close before it ever opened. And he says, that is exactly the point. And I says, if that is exactly the point, why write it at all? And he says, right. And I says, right. And he says, that's correct. It's an insurance policy that insures itself against itself. It's a way of losing but coming down easy, I says. It's a way of winning that don't offend no one. It's a way of dying, but to continue talking afterwards, beforehand, I says. It's a way of fading in while you're really fading out at the same time, I says. It's a deeper way, it's a deeper sort of pun, I says. It's a way of catching your own voice on tape, I says. It's a pun that puns on itself, I says. It's a joke that goes on and 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 on for over 15 minutes. Stealing your own voice from yourself, I says. Beating the devil at his own game, I says. Thank you. Okay, this is my quiz, short answer, back in 6th grade class question. Who said that poetry was a way of beating the devil at his own game? Who said it? I give hints. Dutch? I think he's Dutch.
De Kooning.
Was he? Kierkegaard. Yeah. He said that in one of his books, I forget. Fear and Trembling, that's right. Fear and Trembling, yes. Fear and Trembling. Or is it Sickness Unto Death? That's the name of the book, I think.
That's both. That's the subtitle.
All right, yeah, that's right.
There we go.
This poem, I haven't written a poem in a long time that I really got behind. And I wrote this poem recently, a few months ago. And it will show you exactly, it's sort of like the kind of mood that I have to be in order to write poetry. This is called Notes for a Poem. P, poetry, an alternative to Z, suicide. P, Plath, Z, sexton. The desire to commit suicide gives poetry its passion. The wish to live is ethereal and nameless like quicksilver and does not work for poetry. You are listening now but want not to listen. Is that because of me or you? Or is it because it is not words which move us? You look at me and search your memory for what was spoken from body to body just a moment ago. Your own magnificent language ascends from the heat and ether. I will answer your question. It is not duality, but myriad, as in stars, as in microbes, as in souls. The crucifixion, religious symbol of the future, existential symbol of depression. P, Prozac. Z, both suicide and Zoloft. We know too much and too little. We know of suffering, but not why. We know of God and stand always at his door, which is forever locked. This we call eternity. If I call this Notes for a Poem, I will not have to rearrange these mystical phrases into poems. But it's more than that. I seek to break out from this imprisoning but it returns with the beating of the heart, as in the desire to self-annihilate, Z. It is not self-expression, that's a fucking cliche. No, it is a wreath of words which we lay at the foot of our shrine to the dead. It is an amphetamine amulet to disperse the agony which assails the fragile soul. Artode A, Soul Z. This is a little bit hardcore. People up for that or what? Yes? No?
No.
There's no answer, huh?
Yes.
Or- Oh, all right.
Hardcore. Hardcore.
All right.
You got a
Bring it on.
chaser for that?
The audience got it like, you know, a little bit of a part of it. Okay, this is called Vision of God. Jane, my wife wanted me to do this. I actually haven't done this poem maybe in 20 years, I don't think. And this was written based on like the my experience in the 60s. Okay, let me just make sure the poem's in line here. This poem takes about an hour. Is that all right? All right? It's long. All right, yeah. All right. Okay. Have you ever been sick? I don't mean sick with the cold or flu, but so sick you can't think because it hurts. So sick you can't tie your shoes because you can't bend down. So sick you can't sit still and you can't walk at the same time. So sick you can't even drink water or even think about drinking water. Dark alleys and burnt out tenements in the poor part of town where heroin is king. Garbage parks piled high from the hovels across the street. Night fire trash cans at 3 a.m. and mama looking, calling for her baby boy. Come home, baby. Come home, child. I stepped into the gallery sick like a motherfucking dog. If mama could see me now, it would kill her. You got a syringe, you got a set of works, you got a set of gimmicks, you got joints, you got things. That's not what I wanted for you, child. You got stuff, you got smack, you got dudes, you got dope, you got shit. Please, child, I've heard enough. You got a junkie, you got a hype, you got a dope fiend, you got a ghost. I proceeded into the crib and took a look around. There's Philly, and there goes Mike. What's up, my brothers, what's up? Not too good, not too good. The Jones is coming motherfucking down and I can't breathe. Shattered glass mirrors broken dreams on the city street. The dark side surrounds the light side, swallowing it. There are women out there who never had a chance at life. And there are men out there who never will. The first thing which goes is the law. It was past midnight, so she only had herself to blame. No one walks around here after dark unless they're looking to hurt themselves. We followed her down 23rd and up St. Nick's. She probably thought we had a gun, which was good for us since it gave up the fight in her. No, lady, you got it all wrong. We want your purse, not your life, and if you don't scream, we might not kill you. Weeping willows, too tired to cry under the city night sky where the stars never shine. Sawdust bars where the drink is death, the talk is rum, and the time has never happened. There are men out there in hallways more transparent than a shadow. And there are women out there who will never see them. So what we get? $8. Split 2 motherfucking ways. I told you, Joey said. Her money was in her shoes. I took my $4, he took his. We threw the pocketbook down the sewer and parted company. I found myself a seat on the old beat-up couch in the shooting gallery. Look, there's Larry Loco trying to find a hit. The veins in his arms were burnt, so he was getting off in his hands. Please, Loco, sell me a taste, won't you, brother? I got $4 and I feel like I'm fixing to die. The last thing which goes is your life. Do you know what a hot shot is? You open the glass scene and put the shit into the spoon. You inject water into the solution. You cook it with 3 matches, being very careful not to burn your fingers and drop the shot. You draw the shot up into the works. You tie up. You find a hit. When the blood registers into the dropper, divining the hidden river of blood, you depress the gimmick's tongue, being very careful not to lose the vein and blow the shot. But a strange sensation occurs, more like the hot flash of imminent death, than the slow, cool rivers of escape that you expected as your arm stiffens and your fingers begin to swell. Too late, you realize it is not heroin that you have kissed so intimately, but the tongue of something far more deadly. You rip the joints out of your hand and throw them across the room. But like I said, it is too late as the poison travels through the vein, preparing to scream into the heart. A scream that your lips will shortly voice. Often, just prior to death, the hype will experience a moment of hopelessness and agony so profound that it resembles ecstasy. Often also, the junkie's ghost will vomit blood, crimsoning the bare wooden floor in the shooting gallery. I've crawled because I couldn't walk no more. I forgive you, child. I've fallen because I couldn't stand no more. Forgive me, child. I've died because I couldn't live no more. Forgive yourself. Yourself. There are 100 things that I will never forgive myself. So when Loco started screaming, we knew what that was. And when he stopped screaming, we knew what that was too. Damn, I thought to myself, if Loco had sold me that taste like I asked him, it could have been me laying on the floor instead of him bleeding from the ears and the mouth like a motherfucking dog. There are 2 things you have to guard against in New York City where heroin remains king. First, there is the night, and there is the darkness which precedes night. Then there is the cold, and there is the wind which precedes cold. Anyways, like I was saying, that's how I came to understand that somebody's death could be somebody else's second chance at life. Or one man's vision of God can be another man's rat poison. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you.